Hello, everyone, and wish you all firstly a very happy new year. Thank you for your patronage and support of India AI in what has been an indescribably tough year. Hopefully, 2021 will be a better one for all of us. Now, despite the upheavals of the year gone by, it was also a time of incremental changes, especially in technology. AI is fast becoming a mainstream strategy for businesses in every possible domain. The first startup interview of 2021 is one that can actually attest to these changes firsthand. I have with me Raghu Ravinatula, CEO and co-founder of Yellow Messenger, a conversational AI company that's enabling enterprises to automate their core business processes and maintain business continuity. Raghu is an alumni of NIT Warangal and has worked with companies like Texas Instruments and Broadcom across leadership roles in engineering, product management, and business development. Welcome to Conversations with India AI, Raghu, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much, Sindhija, and Happy New Year to you as well. It's great to be here.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to be able to host you here, and of course, with the privilege of being the first interview of 2021. So, on that note, I just wanted to sort of get a better understanding of Yellow Messenger as a concept, and really just sort of if you could just give me a brief introduction of what you do here at Yellow Messenger and what the company is really all about.
Yes, it's great, and we know that all of the viewers here interact on messaging platforms. We use WhatsApp and maybe Signal recently.
Yeah.
What Yellow Messenger does as a platform is enables enterprises to use our platform and automate conversations around customer support, commerce, and marketing with their end consumers on these messaging platforms using conversational AI. So companies use us to automate customer support. Companies use us to automate interactions around employee assistance, be it HR, IT, support automation in several regional languages and English using Yellow Messenger platform.
Great. I'm glad you brought up regional languages. That's going to be a pretty important part of our conversation today. So I think, it'll be interesting to really sort of take a step back and reflect on the changes that are really taking place in business process management. I think that's an area that you're very, very versatile and very comfortable with. So what are the changes, you would personally say you've witnessed in this particular area that have led you to strengthen capabilities in NLP?
Okay. So one area is around people interacting in multiple different languages. So the NLP has to be developed in a way that it can understand nuances of these several regional languages, not only individually, but colloquially, these languages are used alongside English, like let's say English or in Malaysia and Indonesia, they have Bahasa and English together. So a lot of effort went in building the algorithms to understand these different languages in different dialects and in colloquial usage as well.
Yeah.
The second part is also about how this natural language processing can be narrowed down to understand enterprise-specific terms and enterprise-specific meanings. So, for example, people are looking for a specific product with an e-commerce company, and there are few utterances around that. How configurable is the platform to adapt and customize to those terms and terminologies that are specific to that industry domain and their products as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. So I think, understandably, the NLP engine is just so critical to the success and efficacy of your overall conversational offerings that you have as a company. So it'll be great if you could tell us a little bit about that NLP engine itself. What are its features? What are the other technologies that you use? And what are the other aspects of the software that you think are really important for giving that absolutely phenomenal, customer experience that is necessary today?
Absolutely. So in natural language processing, the first part is the speech synthesis. So in voice channels, especially having the understanding of speech and converting into a great text accuracy, I think that's one key part of the technology. The second key part is about breaking down the conversations and understanding their meaning in the specific instance of this conversation. So that is essentially from a technology perspective defined as intent. So what is the customer really looking for in this entire conversation? Getting those intents and entities and mapping it to the functions that an enterprise can do is a core part of how this NLP is developed. So our product is developed on few stacks such as fast text, fast text for entity processing. We also use something called sentence encoding. So use the relationship between different words of a sentence as a vector for the machine learning algorithm to map it to the intent.
Right.
So these are some of the technologies used to drive the natural language processing,
Yeah.
uh, multilingual.
It's very fascinating. I'd love to actually see it sort of happen in it is sort of like teaching a child how to speak, and it's sort
Absolutely.
of giving him or her all of the necessary qualities that are necessary, that are required for people like you and me to converse, and to just enable a machine to be able to do the same thing. So it sounds
Absolutely.
really quite fascinating to see. So I think this is something that I've come across in conversations with many people in the field of research, at least, that I think limited data sets is one that continues to be a challenge. And even though the utility and the application of NLP is something that's increasing across businesses, I don't think that the availability of data is a problem that's also sort of being able to be addressed at that same scale. So I think what's also sort of developing simultaneously is, I think, researchers are trying to fill this gap in the best way possible. And there are some instances such as low shot learning, which is becoming a little more popular, at least to address this one particular challenge. So I believe YOLO Messenger is also sort of dabbling in this area. So what are your efforts in this area, and who do you think that low shot learning as a concept can really actually help?
Yeah. So what we call this for ourselves is the problem statement. Why we adopted this is
Mm,
that enterprises don't come up with have already a lots of existing data for companies like us to just consume and start generating conversations.
yeah.
So for companies for products like us to be really useful in a really short time, we use something called data efficient NLP,
Mm,
which is essentially using very minimal data,
mm,
training data to get the algorithms to run at reasonable accuracy.
mm.
And by using the NLP model itself, you are generating enough data to train the system back to increase the database learning within the platform.
All right.
So we use something called data efficient NLP, and that's completely built within the platform within the enterprise. If that
Right.
answers your question.
You mentioned that is reasonable accuracy. So generally speaking, I think when it's an ideal situation with a lot of data sets, most people, I think most companies sort of aspire to 98, 95 to 99% accuracy. So what kind of accuracy levels can one generally expect with low shot learning? Not necessarily Yellow Messenger, but overall, what is the indices for
Yes, so
this?
we are seeing that our products can easily get to about 70 to 80% of accuracy with
That's not bad.
machine learning and data efficient. And that
Right.
can get to about 90% plus accuracies as more and more data is collected just
Hmm.
by the act of making this live and making this usable in production environment. So the data is generated through the deployment itself rather
Makes
than
sense.
taking in some earlier data or depending only on earlier data
Right.
to track accuracy.
70 to 80% is a good indication to start
Yeah,
with. I think
absolutely.
that's a good number. Yeah.
Yeah, so it might not be true for all different applications, but for
Hmm.
conversational AI specifically, 70 to 80% is can be absolutely achieved.
Definitely. Okay. So another thing that's really sort of gaining popularity is the use of no code at all, basically no code platforms and no code automation, essentially. So what are your thoughts on this? And is your company also dabbling in this area?
Yeah, so no code is going to define how a lot of enterprise software is going to run in the future. The reason I say that is typically an enterprise has these like a lot of business people who know the domain in and out, and they
Hmm.
have this completely separate developer environment to build applications, taking this domain knowledge and bringing back to the users. A
Yeah.
lot of time companies are facing bottleneck with either the short supply of developers, the entire process in communicating to the developer team, getting this back, and there's a lot of information lost during this, and there's a lot of time consumed during this.
Mm.
So a low-code platform really is allowing business users themselves to build flows and configure the business process workflows.
Mm.
And the technology right now is available to build those kind of solutions. How Yellow Messenger is adopting low code is our platform at the front end converses with the users, but it acts on behalf of the users to trigger the workflows at the back end of the enterprise.
Okay.
And this definition of these workflows, instead of people writing code on top of a platform to trigger these workflows, there's
Mm.
a low code workflow management that can orchestrate these workflows at the back end, whereas the front end is a conversational interface in Ruja. So that's
Okay.
how we are leveraging this entire low code, no code. There'll be some code required still. I think completely no code. I mean,
Mm.
you just cannot get the developers away. Still, these integrations required with a lot of legacy systems, etc. That there'll be some part of code that's involved, but we are
Yeah.
seeing that in an enterprise and especially in our domain, the amount of code required for each deployment is coming down rather sharply.
Right, right. No, definitely, it makes sense. I think, if AI is trying to essentially do away with obsolete or maybe, lesser relevant jobs, I think even within AI, there are some lesser relevant functions that can be sort of taken away by something fairly a little, simpler in terms of that, so you can sort of essentially deploy your resources for solving the more complex challenges. So, 2020, how was it like a business year? I think this is a loaded question, but it'll be interesting to know in terms of, how different companies have really sort of passed this journey throughout the duration of last year, and how has 2020 sort of set your goals for this year and the years to come?
Absolutely. So 2020, of course, I mean, nobody can deny that it forced a lot of us to change ourselves, the way we operate completely.
Yeah.
But what I think I'm really proud of is the way our team kind of came together in Q2, and we had to change how our company is positioned.
Mm.
How can it take the opportunities and solve the problems that companies were facing during this period? So I think the first shift was. Retail and commerce was not a significant category in our customers.
Mm.
And we saw in Q2 when suddenly the distributors kind of were completely disrupted, they were at home.
Mm.
These brands wanted to drive interactions directly with customers, and we were able to enable them to do that on WhatsApp within a few days. So that
Mm.
led to a strong surge in the number of brands driving commerce on the messaging platforms. So that led us to almost a 3x growth this year in terms of our top line and in terms of our realized revenue. And
Mm.
our employees grew from about 150 to 390 people during this year.
That's
So we
more
were
than
one of
double.
the that's more than double. So
Yeah.
the biggest change that brought us the company is that three-fourths of the company was onboarded remote. So nobody of three-fourths of the company never met the other parts of the team, and that
Right.
was a huge challenge on onboarding, etc. But glad that we ended the year the way that we did, and this forced us a lot of changes that we had to made in the company to
Mm.
enable remote culture and how we move agile in stressful situations. So
Yeah.
we feel stronger than ever entering into 2021.
Right, absolutely. So how has the tone really changed for 2021? What do you have in mind, and what can we expect from the Yellow Messenger stable, in the months to come?
Yeah, so we are looking at continuing our 3x growth trajectory this year as well, not in terms of employees, but I think
Hmm.
really in terms of our revenue and customer base. We are also looking to expand more deeply into the US and Europe markets. We had pretty good success selling remotely to the US in 2020. So we want to accelerate on that. From a product perspective, we are launching a community or freemium edition of the product that enables a lot of enterprises to come try and use our product and get benefit from that without necessarily talking to our sales team. And our
Right.
sales team can get on when the volume there picks up. So that's a key part of our strategy to kind of democratize how conversational AI is used across multiple enterprises and institutions. So those are the broad goals for us, Sinduja, for 2021.
Sounds like a plan, and this is basically sounds like a very ambitious and also very doable plan. I think for 2021, I think 2020 sort of changed the game for so many of us and has forced us to rethink, go back to the drawing board. So I think this year, hopefully, with news of the vaccine around the corner, I think we're hoping to try to at least get back to a slightly new normal, but definitely has changed the dynamics of how business will take place going forward. Thank you so much for your time, Raghu. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and we'll be posting these interviews very soon on our portal as well. So do have a look at it. And thanks so much for your time.
Hey, thanks a lot, Sindhija. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Take care.
Savina. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.